Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining. My name is Raj. I'm the founder and CEO of Sim Insights, and with me is Chris Johnson. He's our lead applications engineer.
Hello there. Happy to be here with you all today.
And we are located in Irvine, California. So here's an outline of our presentation. We'll begin with company overview. For those of you who are new to our company, and then we'll dive into the topic of today's webinar, which is mixed reality training. Then we have also invited a couple of our partners to share their experiences with mixed reality and working with us, and then we'll conclude. And at any point in this webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat window, and we'll address them throughout the webinar as well as at the end. So at Sim Insights, we have been working on mixed reality and virtual reality since 2017. And through our many projects, we have introduced more than 10,000 people to extended reality. And we've done a lot of events throughout North America as well as projects. And we are grateful to National Science Foundation and some of the other agencies that you see here for their support on the R&D that we have conducted to build these technologies. Our vision is that how can we enable everyone to capture their knowledge and skills in these AI-powered extended reality apps that can help them generate revenue, generate data for research, as well as train people. And our mission toward that vision is to democratize the creation of this AI XR powered content, and not only creation, but also delivery and analytics. And we want to do that with no-code tools. And we believe that if we do it, we will improve learning outcomes for a lot of people while also reducing the cost of training. And all of our values are based around that. So our values are that we want to build our software for equity and access. We are driven by love for lifelong learning, and we are very data-driven. So to take a quick step back, the big problem that we are addressing is that millions of youth and adult workers don't have access to high-quality training. Why is that? Because only known high-quality training is one-on-one expert-led, which, as we all know, does not scale. And there are 22 million adults in healthcare, manufacturing, and higher ed areas in the US who need high-quality training. And the solution, in our view, is to take all of these different tasks that are part of different jobs and convert them into AI-powered immersive training using no-code tools. Using no-code tools, it's possible to author, publish, and evaluate this training content very efficiently. And if we do that, the benefits will be that we'll have training that is safer than training in the real world. It's faster, and it's also cheaper. And so it becomes scalable. And that's our approach to making a difference in this big problem. Now, our journey on this started back in 2017, and we took a year to study whether people actually learn with virtual reality and mixed reality. So we did a randomized control trial at Texas A&M University with more than 120 students. We divided them into two groups. And what we found over the course of a year was that immersive training really works. It drove the engagement up. It drove the learning outcomes up, both for procedural and conceptual skills. And because we had a very good sample size, we also looked at subgroups of females, and we found that females learned twice as much as males. So we published these studies in a peer-reviewed journal. And that was the moment when we realized that all sorts of training was going to shift into mixed reality and virtual reality. And from our engineering point of view, we wanted to help people use mixed reality and AI-powered techniques for learning. So what we did is we started on this 5-year journey to build a no-code platform, which you're going to learn about today. And we did that working with customers in education, in healthcare, in automotive, in manufacturing. And that gave us a lot of understanding of exactly the feature set and the trade-offs that needed to be made to build such a platform. And last year, we released the platform, the version 2 of the platform through our website, and it's been gaining traction steadily since then, and it has users all over the world now. So at a high level, our offerings are platform, content collection, and services. So for platform, HyperSkill is our local platform. It's available as a software as a service product. It accelerates the creation and deployment of training by a lot. Our second offering is our services. So professional services, we refer to it as Studio. And under this, we work with our customers and build solutions for them using HyperSkill or other software tools as well. And there are a lot of different kinds of solutions we build. And last but not least is Skillful, which is our content collection. So here we have partnered with school districts and community colleges, and we have built more than 179 simulations. The number is always going up. And these are simulations that you can experience on web, in VR, as well as in MR. And by the end of the year, we'll reach 500. So with these offerings, we give to our customers full flexibility to either self-serve, they can do it themselves, or they can outsource and have us work with them. And all the content we build is cross-platform. So recently, we also started working on supporting Apple Vision Pro. It's in testing stages now. Everything we are doing, we are keeping in mind equity and access. So when we look at AI, we are applying it to reduce cognitive load. When we think about pricing, we work very hard to keep the prices low so everyone can afford it. And with tech support, we go out of our way to help people get familiar with this new technology and help them implement. So through our projects, we have worked with a lot of different customers from different domains, as you can see here. Everything from education to design, machining, semiconductor, legal, automotive, and so on. And we constantly ask ourselves, what would make us a great partner for all of these different types of companies? And partnership is key because no company can build all these different types of training because training content always requires subject matter expertise. And so our answer to becoming a great partner is to have these 5 aspects. Innovation, so we bring the cutting edge innovations to our customers. So that means deep integration with generative AI, support for new devices as they come to the market, like Oculus Quest 3, Apple Vision Pro, and so on, keeping the cost low. And through our no-code approach, having a very agile and highly customizable approach so that customers can finish their projects faster and all the content can be customized as much as needed. And last but not least is client ownership. So when customers license HyperSkill and build the content, they retain all of the IP. And that's important because knowledge takes years to build and knowledge is key for training. And so the experts should control the IP. So that was a quick overview of our company. And now I would like to turn it over to Chris Johnson, who is going to dive into mixed reality training, AI-powered no-code multiplayer and cross-platform. Chris?
Thank you so much, Raj. So taking it from there, let's dive into what mixed reality training actually looks like. So mixed reality in action over here is what we have. And mixed reality is able to have the real world in place and overlay the virtual on it. So on the left here, we have a demonstration of a user going through a guided process where they'll be assembling part of a meter set assembly for a gas gauge. In the middle, we have somebody exploring an anatomical model as they are able to look through it and see out of the components. And on the right, we have a user who is able to be guided through the process of using an AID machine for conducting CPR. All of these are able to be done in the real world and overlay with virtual elements as you go through them and explore as you feel necessary and be guided with the virtual elements and be interacting with the real world. So, with that in mind, virtual reality, mixed reality are both part of extended reality technologies, but is mixed reality inherently better than virtual reality? Well, the answer is that they are different, but MR does have some distinct advantages to virtual reality. First, it is easier to connect with the people around you as you are still in the real world space and you are not having to connect through them over the internet. You're able to see and talk with the people around you in a much more natural fashion. Similarly, you're still able to see the real world and form those realistic memories and associations because you are still in your real world environment. Another advantage of mixed reality is that you're able to perform the actual task with the equipment and tools in your hands rather than virtual representations of them. And so while you're able to be given virtual guidance, you're able to go through the process as you would in the real world because you're doing so with the actual tools and materials. Also, for virtual reality, there are a small subset of people who get motion sick while going through simulations. In mixed reality, that is almost entirely eliminated as a possibility. And because of all of this and more, users tend to be much more comfortable in mixed reality than in virtual reality for their first foray into the virtual world. So with HyperSkill, we have some key differentiators between us as far as what it is that we offer. First, we have AI-powered technology, which reduces the cognitive load of users when they are going through and creating their own simulations and experiences, which simplifies the creation process greatly and allows our creators and authors to leverage that technology to easily include just-in-time support or question answering for users, as well as use it in many other different ways. We have a no-code authoring platform and system, which means that anyone and everyone can be a creator. Also, it's faster to create with a no-code authoring tool than it is to do through hand coding, and allows you to create simulations much faster than you otherwise would. We have a reusable repository of assets available both from what we publicly produce, as well as one that you're able to build up and add to yourself. As such, creating simulations is easier than ever, as you're able to utilize a host of objects for that purpose. Anything created on our platform is cross-platform, so you're able to create it once and deliver it across any platform that we support, making it so you have a greater return on investment and have greater access to users who may not have access to the latest virtual reality technologies and are instead able to receive the same training on more accessible platforms like web or desktop. Also, any simulation can be made multiplayer, allowing multiple users to join and interact and collaborate together and work as a team to accomplish tasks. As such, the creation process kind of typically looks like this, where you are able to ingest your 3D assets, taking them from the repository, lay them out in the studio, where you're able to create a scenario flow or flow chart of your behavior and process, which you are then able to publish across devices to be experienced, whether that's on desktop, web, VR, or MR. And at the end of it, there's a built-in web portal, as well as a greater and more in-depth one, where you're able to see the insights of every action that a user went through that is captured by our system, review, and make changes to your system, which is then able to be immediately published and experienced across your devices. And all of this is built inherently into our HyperSkill no-code platform. Here's what the data and insights look like. The insights dashboard is built in and is an easy organization of data that you're able to go through and view as users go through it. And on the right is the elastic dashboard for those who are more familiar with the way the systems are set up and able to be generated, and you're able to go through and more precisely pick out the data that is relevant to you and able to analyze your views, create charts, data, graphs, and anything that you would find of interest of captured by your system. Every interaction, every button click, and everything that a user says is captured by our system and is able to be reviewed by you, the creator of the platform, or the creator of your simulation. So here is the scene layout and what that looks like, where you're able to bring in assets arrange them and manipulate them throughout the space. You're able to utilize the repository of assets to easily click, drag, bring in, and arrange them throughout your environment. And you're able to do this with a host of objects from a repository or from your own personal collection. Creation has never been easier with our Steam layout tool. Afterwards, you're able to go into the scenario flow. This is where you are going to take your assets that you've laid out and then begin creating the interactions or messages that you're going to be giving to users as they go through the process. You're able to build out an entire flowchart of behaviors, actions, as well as instructions for the user to accomplish. These are able to be branching multi-node structures where you're able to go through these and create multiple branching paths between them so that you are able to create as complex or as simple of a simulation as you find necessary for your creation process so that users can be assured that they are getting the guidance that they need for completing whatever task you set out for them. Also, we've got AI powered into our system, so you're able to immediately create a virtual agent or an artificial agent who is able to give just-in-time support to users based off of the parameters that you've given it. With this, you can be assured that as users have questions of whatever process they are going through, even if you didn't anticipate it, by properly setting up your artificial agents, they are able to get the answers to their questions that they have throughout their experience. This and more of our tools and our sets that we've created simplify the creation process and make it so that you are getting the best possible outcomes of what it is you're developing. Once you've created your platform or your experience, you're able to deploy it across various platforms that you're able to experience here. You're either showcasing the same simulation and the exact same authoring process for mixed reality, desktop, and virtual reality. While the platforms and the experience are different as far as the interactions, the message and displays and the process that each of them are going through is the exact same, regardless of what platform they're going through. They're able to engage with the agents, go through the processes, and get the same learning outcomes as what they do. Even though we do feel that mixed reality and virtual reality are more immersive, by it being available through this simple creation tool, it's much more accessible to everyone. So with that, I would hand it back to Raj.
Thank you, Chris. So just a couple different examples here to further share with you what's possible with HyperSkill in mixed reality. So first one involves, it's a scenario where the user has to ask the patient how the patient is doing. So we use the AI capability that Chris showed to basically create an AI chatbot that drives the conversation with that virtual human that you see there.
Machine would help. And perhaps some more comfortable pillows if that's possible. But overall, I'm thankful for the care I'm receiving here.
We've had some patients who find having pillows to prop them up helps with their nausea. I can see what I can do about that. Are there any of your other symptoms that have worsened since you have been admitted to the hospital?
Thank you for the suggestion and your help. As for my symptoms, the diarrhea and stomach cramps have been quite consistent since I was admitted. The abdominal pain seems to be a bit more intense at times.
So I want to point out a couple of things. When Chris talked to the patient, it was not scripted. Like he could say anything that came to his mind. It could be long or short, and the AI is so capable that it sticks to the role. So there's a role that has been given, and the AI is able to stick to it. Not only that, we also use AI agents to analyze the conversation between the player and the simulation, and then give it scores according to a specific rubric. And those scores are very, very reliable. Okay. And it's taking assessment and credential, it's opening up new opportunities to assess people and give them feedback. It has never been possible before because it has never been possible to analyze pre-response text in such a powerful way. In the second simulation, what we are showing is the emphasis is on interactions. So you can see Chris is kind of bending down and he's attaching an IV to the patient's arm. And so you can have these kinds of scenarios where the emphasis is on correctly following a 10-20 step procedure. So there's no need to restrict yourself to only conversational or only procedural. You can mix and match conversation and procedure in a very fluid way. And that's important because your training needs to be high fidelity with respect to the job that people are being trained for. In this third video, what we are showing is an interview. So mock interviews, that's a very in-demand kind of use case.
Absolutely. So during my studies, my team.
About a cybersecurity project you worked on during your studies, and what was the impact of it?
Absolutely. So during my studies, my team.
So what is being shown here is that you have a virtual agent who is playing the role of like a career guidance counselor or an expert in cybersecurity. And Chris is playing the role of somebody who wants a job in that industry and doesn't really have any experience with interviewing. And so we're using this technology, we can create these digital experiences that can be very useful to the learner. And we actually have a nonprofit in Orange County that reached out to us to request just this kind of simulation or training. And they are serving youth who have, for one reason or another, kind of dropped out of community college or high school or even college. And they really need a lot of help getting back on their feet, getting their first job, so it's a kind of application that there's a great need for out there. And there's a big shortage of people who can provide them this kind of experience, right? Because people with these skills are in such high demand in industry that they're not available to go and help this youth. And so that's where technology can be applied with great impact. And so we are excited to enable that application. And then we have the last one here, which is something that might be useful in a high school or a middle school type setting, where you have students, 2, 3, 4, 5 students can wear Oculus Quest 2 or 3 devices, and then interact with this virtual anatomy human. It's highly detailed. It has all the layers of information from skin to the skeleton to the nervous system to the blood vessels. And there are some solutions out there, like there's a table that is sold for about $100,000. And if you do a price comparison, because price is always important, you can see the tremendous value that it can be delivered through mixed reality or virtual reality on these headsets. And in many ways, it can be even more impactful because you can have AI built into it, and this hardware can be used for many, many other applications, not just one thing. So, one thing that we take very seriously is working closely with customers. And so about 4 or 5 months ago, we received a request from our customer, Crane Morley, also located here in Irvine, that they wanted to convert one of their projects that they had done previously on HoloLens into Oculus Quest 3 as soon as the device came out. And so our team prioritized that, and within a few weeks, we had an early version of mixed reality support that we delivered to them. And they used that and gave us great feedback, and they've been a wonderful partner for us. So I'm very excited to introduce our next presenter, Troy Siegel, who is the Director of Instructional Design at Crane Morley. He's going to share his experiences with mixed reality as well as working with our platform and our team.
Troy, feel free to take over and share.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Troy Segali. As Raj says, I'm the Director of Instructional Design at Crane Morley. And I'm pretty excited today to share about a little bit about HyperSkill. Just give me 1 second to share my screen. Okay. Okay. Sorry. There we go. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Thank you. So just for context, Crane Morley, we're a instructional design and like kind of training consultant firm. So we work with a wide variety of clients across most verticals and industries, and we work with their subject matter experts to help them design training. We've been in the business for about 30 years, and we're always looking for new ways to improve training and on-the-job performance. So we did a lot in the beginning days of just hands-on instructor-led training, classroom training. And then e-learning came along, web-based training, and I was an instructional designer at the time then, and I always disliked how I would storyboard something or I'd work with the trainers to make something. Then I would need to work with a coder to code something like in Flash to get that online, for example. So this is going back a few years. And then rapid authoring tools came out that allowed people like me without coding abilities to be able to create online web and mobile training myself without having to use a coder. So there's tools like, Adobe Captivate and Articulate Storyline. And that was a huge breakthrough for me and for our company because it allowed us to really get more hands-on with the training and the details. Now move on into XR. We started to develop as a Microsoft and Meta partner. We started to develop mixed and virtual reality applications for the HoloLens and Quest 3, and I kind of hit that same roadblock of I would have this idea in my head, I'd have this vision, I'd be working with the client, and then I would need to hand everything off to a programmer. Nothing wrong with that flow, by the way, but I like to be more hands-on, and it would take a long time. It would come back. It would kind of be what I wanted, but not really. And now I'm so excited that Sim Insights has brought HyperSkill to the table because that is, again, as Adobe Captivate and Storyline are to e-learning, HyperSkill is to XR applications. So now, even though I don't know Unity, I don't know any programming languages, I'm able to myself get hands-on, put together a storyboard, flow, logic, 3D assets, and I'm able to build my own XR applications. So this has been really, really fun to work with this platform. And so again, what we're trying to accomplish as a company is we try to meet with our clients and using, usually it's a blend of these things. So e-learning, instructor-led training, mixed reality training, and AI. We're always trying to, again, improve their existing training, shorten the time to competency, get people through training faster, transfer skills with less instructor time and resources, and just empower the learners, make the training better. And then another tactic is now that we have this new medium, what can you do with this medium that you can't do today? And that's like another big exciting thing that we're always trying to kind of look for is here's how we did training yesterday with the tools we had yesterday, but now with these new tools such as mixed reality and AI, what can we do to improve training? So I'm going to share a couple quick examples really quick. This first one we did with Raj's team at Sim Insights and Volkswagen. And you guys can see this video playing? Okay, thanks. So we actually have a lot of automotive clients, and we kind of do the same training again and again, and their dealers typically know what to do. And e-learning is usually a chore for them. Training is like a chore. So using the HoloLens 2 and HyperSkill, we made this kind of interactive dealership scenario. So whether you're brand new or even a vet, these are really valuable because teaching soft skills usually requires multiple people in role playing. And whenever a new vehicle comes in, they have to learn everything really quickly. And doing it this way allows you to interact with a virtual customer like this guy here. And what we're doing here is we're asking him questions, and these little white boxes are kind of like Jeopardy, where it's making sure that you're asking him all the right questions that you're supposed to ask. So you get comfortable talking to people, which is, again, a skill that's always in demand, is people skills and customer service skills. Then we pull the car in, and they actually get to do a virtual walk around. This is a really big deal to a lot of dealerships, is the walk around, knowing what to look for, knowing how to inspect the vehicle. Even if this person is not going to be working on the vehicle themselves, they need to have enough intelligence to be able to communicate to the mechanic and the customer and be that mediator between the two. So this guy had an issue with his vehicle, and it's kind of teaching how the vehicle works and how the sensors work. And again, it's the immersion goes up a lot, which increases the attention and the retention of the information, because instead of just clicking through slides or being told this information in a classroom, it's up to the user to actually reach out, interact with the vehicle, physically walk around the vehicle, inspect the brakes. So this may seem kind of simple, but it's actually surprisingly impactful. And then here we're moving on to kind of some sales training where we're learning about the new accessories on the vehicle. And again, this is all done through voice. So we're able to speak to this customer, offer accessories to them, and it's helping us make sure that we've remembered all the accessories for that vehicle. So that's one example. And one thing I want to also point out that's really cool about this platform, short of its like ease of use, is Raj mentioned it's kind of got a cross-platform component. So we have a lot of customers who they maybe have only HoloLenses, or they have only virtual reality, or they're not there yet at all, and they're still on e-learning and desktop. I really appreciate that I could build this once and I can deploy it to desktop, to mixed reality on HoloLens, to virtual reality on a Quest 3, or virtual reality or mixed reality on a Quest 3. And that's really great because a lot of our clients want to ease into this new technology. And so building this and having their people be able to access it on desktop or a headset if they have a headset really helps them kind of accept it and get used to it. And this last example I wanted to show really quick is for something we did with the utilities, where this is how to assemble and put together a meter set. So this is one of the first tasks that a lot of utilities workers will have to do. And this is one of the biggest strengths of mixed reality, is that instead of watching and then doing, so like you watch in a classroom or you watch the instructor show you how to do it, you learn while doing. So you get a wrench in each hand, and then you get your first step of, okay, take off this plug, put on this part. And what's great about this is, again, it's hands-on. So when this is complete, you've actually done the task. So you learn how to do the task while doing the task at the same time. And that obviously crunches the training time pretty significantly. In this example, we actually turned a half day of classroom training, sometimes even a full day of classroom training, where at the end they learn how to do the meter, into 1 hour of training. So they just put the headset on with no prior experience, and this walks them through every step of how to put together the entire meter and even activate service. Now, as you can see, it has floating text of what to do. This is the procedure that they follow. And then there's holograms of each part. So they just kind of paint by the numbers and follow the parts as it goes along. And they can put together, and they can, this also improves a lot of confidence, because even if they know how to do it in their head, but they've never touched the tools or they've never gone out and done it, they're very hesitant to get hands-on. So this really brings new people up to speed quickly. And it's also a great refresher training for people that may already know the process, but they haven't done it in a while, just because it walks you through and you get hands-on really quick. So this is a really amazing time to be doing training in these types of applications, because the bar has been lowered now so that more people can get involved and get hands-on. And the cost and the time to develop an app like this has shortened a lot. So we're really excited for the future and where these things are going, and highly recommend you guys give HyperSkill a try. It's pretty fun to use. And I'm not going to go into the AI, but that's a whole other thing that I'm very excited to start using. Is I've used the conversational AI and using the AI agent a little bit. It's amazing, amazing stuff. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and pass it back to Raj and Chris. So thank you for having me, and I'll stick around.
Thank you so much, Troy. That was amazing. Yeah, we are a tools company here, and we spend all our time building tools to enable people like Troy and his team. And every time we see one of their simulations, we are so thrilled because it really shows their decades of experience. It really shows in the way they do instructional design, that the way they use our tool to create training. So thank you for sharing your experiences. And if anyone has any questions for Troy, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we are doing really good on time, so we'll have some Q&A time as well. So our next presenter is Jonathan Tesk. He's going to join us from Washington, DC. We recently met Jonathan and got to learn about his amazing vision for implementing this technology inside the classroom. He's a teacher, and now I'd like to pass it over to him so he can share with us his experiences in mixed reality and our team.
Thank you, guys. Great seeing you all and everyone here. Thank you for joining. I met the folks over at Sim Insights, Rajesh and Chris, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And Rajesh, you and I got to meet up at ASU GSV last month. And what I've loved, and I'll talk about Reframe in a second, but what I've loved about Sim Insights is truly the flexibility that you guys are providing with both your authoring tool, but also the content that you provide, and just the speed at which you provide. I had asked for a little bit of a demo of some mixed reality content, and you guys like produced it out in like a week, which is not like our other partners, which is really, really great to see. And I want to like really emphasize that to folks on the call. It's just that the breadth and depth that your tool can provide in a quick short minute is really, really impressive. But to take a step back, Jonathan Teske, nice to meet you all here, CEO and founder of Reframe XR. Previously worked at Meta as the Future of Education lead for 4 years, but mostly known as an educator. I taught for 10 years here in Montgomery County, Maryland. Main background is English as a second language. So I draw upon 10 years of teaching, coaching teachers, and then coaching leadership. And then the last 4 years at Meta, really working across the company to both fund a bunch of startups, fund research, and then also work on their go-to-market of what they previously announced a couple weeks ago around their Quest for Education initiative. And so from all of that, all of those 2 years at Meta, of the 4 years I was there, really focused on that work, was trying to solve the lack of a teacher in VR. And to me, that is kind of the biggest barrier to this technology entering into classrooms at any type of scale with any type of impact. And really, as someone who definitely believes in the technology at a consumer level and also at an educational level, recognizing that there are immense superpowers that the teacher has that we should not be losing because of the affordances of VR. And kind of how Christian and Rajesh have kind of eloquently put that we're seeing more of is what you gain from mixed reality, you don't lose as much from not having VR. Because if the environment is not something you are interacting with or that truly provides additional context continually, the cognitive load that gets reduced using mixed reality is really, really a huge ROI in terms of savings when you have a lot of folks who are still nauseous when they get in, let alone in my context of K-12, when you have a lot of kids who have never been in a headset before, so the cognitive load and novelty effect is quite high when they first enter a headset. And so we wanted to, at Reframe, we wanted to create a platform that was really hyper flexible for schools and teachers to use their existing behaviors with this technology in a very unique way, but that maintains their superpowers, their behaviors that are research backed for decades. We don't need to change teaching behaviors. We need to adapt the technology to existing behaviors that are research backed. So with all that being said, I'm actually just going to show a 5-minute demo of how we have built Reframe, some of content that we have built ourselves, just more so to aspire developers like Sim Insights and schools to work with us and partner with us. But by no means do we create content. By no means do we have an authoring tool. We are just the infrastructure that supports and creates co-located mixed reality, so multiplayer in schools that is hyper performant, that is safe and reusable for teachers and schools, and you'll see what that looks like. And then working with wonderful partners like Sim Insights to kind of provide the kind of scalable approach that we have now pressure tested with schools to say this is kind of the only way we can actually see it entering into classrooms where there are 30 warm bodies at all times being managed by a teacher, but still want to make sure that this technology is relevant. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Here is a quick short demo that we did for folks. I'm just going to run through it and voice over. So once a teacher gets an account in Reframe, they have to set up a room. And a room is that spatial classroom that we're calling. It's the air between the walls you get to take advantage of. And the headsets and the platforms, you tend to scan the rooms. And we don't need to scan the rooms to take advantage of co-located mixed reality or the multiplayer within the room. We need what happens inside the room. So we give the ability for a teacher to design the room in the headset, because they said, I don't want to teach in a headset. And I said, great, I don't want to teach in a headset either, if I was still a teacher. But I know you like to plan. You're alone when you plan, and I only want 5 minutes of your time when you plan. And they said, okay, I'll be interested. So that was the door knock we got. So the two things that they learned to do is place a sync point, which everything is relevant to. And then all they do is place stations. Stations are where anyone works together. The idea of placing stations is the idea of creating group work. And that's persistent across any age group, no matter what you're learning. And we also teach them sample scene. Sample scene allows this teacher to assess the volume of the scene that will take place at that station across those students, because it takes up physical space. And we're making sure teachers have done this for decades, thinking about physical spacing, pacing, movement, groupings. They've already been doing that. So why don't we give them the tools to continue to do that in a headset? And then we'll see how we pass that data along. There's up to a 5 student per station limit per classroom. And then there's a 6 station limit, because we wanted to show we can run 30 kids in headsets all at once. They only see what they're assigned to, saves on performance and saves on classroom management. So once the teacher's done, saves and finish, you're out, you're done. What's great is all that spatial data lives in your web portal. So key point here is, and why I really am excited to work with Sim Insights, is this spatial data exists, and it only exists for the school. And what that means is if teacher A just mapped room 1, 2, 3, we know that physical classrooms rarely change their physical setups. If teacher B walks into room 1, 2, 3, they don't need to remap the room. We don't need to rely upon the headsets to resync that room scanning at the platform level, because what matters is not the walls and where the walls are, but where students will be doing things inside the walls. And so what's really great is we've reduced even more of the friction time to get to the content that matters, which is what folks like Sim Insights are building. So that was really a key friction eliminator that we really wanted to focus on at a platform layer. Then we kind of get into more of the kind of global LMS aspect of it. Again, the LMSs of now are antiquated for what we're doing as an industry. You need an LMS that thinks and operates spatially with teachers with spatial content, especially in mixed reality and especially in multiplayer mixed reality. This is some of the content that we have taken that we either built ourselves, just to again demonstrate to developers how performant our content their content can be, and for schools to feel like everything feels like magic to students. That was really the last key point for students. So once you build a lesson, which is based on content that is integrated with us, you open up a session. A session is an ephemeral lesson. It's like a Kahoot. It's code-based. There's no PII collected by us, only if PII or personal identifiable information, like student assessment data, is collected by the partners. We don't collect that. Once you've built a session, you build a group, and then you place content that you placed in that lesson on that station. And then it's the same flow for students as it was for teachers. Here's this code, students, join the session. This is me and someone else acting as 2 students. We put in our session code, so same flow, and this is great. Go sync your headset with your teacher's room. Same flow, left controller in, right controller, click the button. Great, now you've synced your headset with your teacher's room. Every student does that. It's a pretty easy flow once students do it once ever. And then once that happens, teachers see that their headsets or student experiences are calibrated into their experience. Again, not needing to think about an MDM. The acronym MDM is just, it's sad that teachers have learned that that acronym, because it is an IT tool, not a teaching tool. So we wanted to, again, go back to behaviors that we have known and used for the last 2 decades. So you drag students into each group, and then you kick off the lesson. And this is what it would look like. So again, powering different types of opportunities in mixed reality. This is if 2 students had their own manipulative or their own object or scene, but they're seeing each other. You see that compass arrow. That is always pointing you to the station that you're anchored to or assigned to, but it'll also point you to the station you move to. And that's a key point. We wanted to make it as hard as possible to demonstrate to schools that students can walk around in headsets and communicate, collaborate, make meaning, provide discourse with each other, much like they would just walk around with a Chromebook. And case in point that you'll see in a second in our testing in Broward County, Florida, the first time I said, okay, kids, get up and move to your sync point, they flipped out like, what, we can get up? And I was like, yeah, man, get up and move. And that was really weird to them because in VR, you're stationary. And anything that's been VR and educational, it's been very stationary. So I think once kids get it, they get it because they want to kinesthetically move. But this is an example of if you had your own stuff. But the real power that we're powering here is when everything is networked and synced together. And so in this case, we have a short, small scene where we were simulating students acting as climate scientists in the International Space Station. I'm manipulating that Earth in real time while she is changing the data visualization or the state of that Earth, just to demonstrate a couple different scenes that we threw together really quickly. The next one is the old Windows Mixed Reality Toolkit demo from years and years ago. We just said, hey, let's scrap that together and just show we have a couple different anatomy and bio partners. You saw some of that content from Sim Insights. We just want to make sure it's all performant and networked across any type of school network. And what's fun is this is all on hotspot Wi-Fi, not even on the school network. And that's how performant it is because nothing is also streamed in. And the last thing we wanted to do is stress the system, and we're nerds, so we just threw a whole solar system at a station. And so you can imagine 6 different stations, up to 5 students, manipulating all these objects in real time with hopefully more depth than what we've provided in our demos, but to demonstrate all of this is hyper performant and should feel like magic to students. And that's really the case in point here, is to move beyond. So what it looks like in practice, this is us in Broward. This is actually our first test case back in February. This is us manipulating objects in the real time, but our own objects. This is her and I having a conversation about the woolly mammoth. We brought the whole woolly mammoth in full scale from the Smithsonian, some of their free AR assets. But what I'd like to point out next here is actually the same station, different girl from my phone. And what I'd like to point out here is I didn't touch the room. There's no carefully curated desks and chairs and rows. There's no tape on the ground 6 by 6 feet apart. She's moving around and operating as if the object is there, but she sees the world. Then we get into more of the controlled chaos that we love in K-12, where everyone is active at their own stations. You can see they're talking to each other, they're pointing to each other. It is the opportunity to create experiences that we know are great for kids, great for students, but as we should always continue to do is adapt content for their needs and their expectations. And that's where folks like Sim Insights come in, that we're happy and excited to partner with across different K-12 districts, both in the US and fingers crossed globally, that we will share more on later. But that's me and that's Reframe. I'm excited to work with you all. And for everyone here, thanks for letting me share Reframe.
Oh, sorry. Didn't realize I was muted. I was saying thank you, Jonathan, for this amazing presentation. This is the second or third time I've seen it, and it's more exciting every time I see it. There's so much in there, and I see some comments in the chat window that basically agree with what I'm saying. So thank you so much for taking the time today. We are doing really good on time, so let me just conclude with a few points and then open it up to Q&A. So what we have shared with you today is an update on HyperSkill, where it now supports mixed reality. We showed a lot of examples and a little bit of under the hood of how you can create your own. We have more detailed training materials on YouTube. You can always contact us to learn more. One point I want to emphasize that it's possible to create a wide variety of training simulations using HyperSkill. You know, my background is in the enterprise, where I spent a decade shipping enterprise software to help engineers build simulations of real-world systems like cars, planes, etc. And I didn't want to do something too special purpose. I wanted to build something that could scale. So that's what has taken so long to build here. And last is that in one application, we are serving both enterprise and education clients. And this is something that we care very deeply about. And this makes our life very difficult, as you can imagine, to try to serve an enterprise customer as well as education. There's so much detail in each of those verticals. But we really want to get this right because there's the gap between schools and jobs, in our opinion, is too big. And it's only getting bigger. As you see all the changes in the world, it's not really shrinking. Yes, there's digital technology, but for some weird reason, the gap between jobs and schools is only getting bigger. And I would love to see if people agree with me or not. And so we think that with mixed reality, there's a real opportunity to make that gap smaller. And you saw some of that in Jonathan's presentation, as well as in Troy's presentation. And this to me, when I said earlier that we look at everything through the lens of equity and access, this is a key part of that. If we can bring those worlds closer together, we kind of help a lot of students, a lot of people connect more with jobs and with careers and so on. So hope that resonates with you. I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their schedule today to attend. You can always reach out to us. Chris's email is there. We have the website, lots of information there. With that, let me open it up to Q&A. So please type your questions in the chat, or if you'd like to speak, just put the message in the chat and Chris will unmute you.
Yep. So just to answer some of the questions that came to the chat during our presentation, Jason Silverstein asked, can we only use hand tracking in the MR mode, or can we use it in VR as well? That is in our roadmap to support hand tracking in VR, but currently it is only supported in MR. But we are moving forward to support hand tracking in VR as well. John Lee asks some additional question, also related to Jason's question. For mixed reality, where a person is working on actual equipment, how can you detect and assess if a person has done a procedure properly? Can AI do that? Or do you need to record a session and have an expert evaluate the performance afterwards? That's a great question. And we've done both, quite frankly, where we had an AI agent in real time assess whether a task is complete or not. This does require a more in-depth training process of an AI for that specific purpose. But yes, AI is able to be leveraged and utilized for assessing whether a task is actually complete or not in the medium of mixed reality. It is not out of the box, and there's some configuration, and that would be more for enterprise clients. But yes, we have done that. However, as you did allude to in your question, it is also entirely possible to just record the entire session as the user is going through it in MR and use it to review from an expert who can then say, yes, this is good and great, and move forward afterwards. Both are available, both are possible.